I shouted a question. No one even acknowledged me. She didn't even wave. They didn't look to us. I think it's a really big problem for the campaign about how they're going to manage this going forward. I mean, we are going to have this situation constantly. And I think what you don't see in that clip, which is one of the most surprising things, is there were actually a ton of people waiting for her at that front of that college. There were elderly people in wheelchairs. There were people, and they just cruised right on by to the back.
So why? I thought those were the people that she wanted to meet with, right?
You would think so. Those were the everyday Americans.
She doesn't want to meet with everyday Americans. She despises everyday Americans. Welcome back, folks. It's time for the Friday Malzberg panel, which is always the best panel of the week because it's Friday. And on that panel today, Heather Hansen, who I think is becoming the regular Friday panelist, trial attorney, columnist at HNGN.com, and Larry Elder, of course, radio host and the author of Dear Father, Dear Son, 2 Lives, 8 Hours. Welcome to both of you. All right, Larry. You know what? To me, this is like the book tour on wheels. I mean, you say you want to speak to the public, so you're going on a listening tour. You have one staged event at a coffee shop, then you meet with 6 people, and you leave.
Right. Well, Steve, how would we feel, however, if she were a limited government woman? Same problem, same level of authenticity, but she believed in tax cuts. She believed in lowering the capital gains. She wanted to have real entitlement reform. I don't think we'd be picking on her like this. To me, it's about her policies. It's about her character. I couldn't care less about these little campaign foibles.
No, I agree. I agree with that, Heather. I mean, you know, at least me and Larry on the right. I don't want to speak for Larry, but you know, it's her policies, absolutely. But this just shows. I mean, the question was, look, her book tour was a disaster. Her first campaign for president wasn't well at all, probably a disaster. Can she adjust? And if this is any indication, she can't.
Well, I think I agree with Larry. We want to hear policies from her, and she hasn't given us any yet, so this is what she's being judged upon. The other thing is, it's a lack of authenticity. Don't pretend that you like people if you don't. Don't pretend that you want to talk to people if you don't. Just come out and say it. I'm going to be president with these policies that are going to work for you, but I don't want to sit down and talk to you about it.
And now look at this picture. Let's put up the next one. Her staff is driving the van back. Again, she had that one press event or whatever the heck it was at that university with 4 people or 5 people, and she flew back. Supposedly she flew coach, sat with the regular people, and then wheeled her own luggage bag. But I'm also reading that she was met on the tarmac by, you know, limousines and all that stuff. So I don't know why she winds up what looks like, you know, oh, that's probably when if she's met on the tarmac, she should never have been in the airport at the gate or in the baggage place. So I don't know if that's another staged photo or not, Larry.
Well, here's the problem. I think we're comparing her to her husband, Bill Clinton, about whom Michael Dukakis once said he is the best stand-up politician I've ever seen. Bill Clinton is the best stand-up politician I've ever seen, and I think Hillary gets hurt because people compare her to him.
Yeah, and we just had Jennifer Rubin on, and she said if you take the political abilities of the Clinton family, being Hillary and Bill got 100%, and Heather got 0%.
Yeah, she definitely doesn't have his charisma. She doesn't even have Barack Obama's charisma when it came to campaigning. So she's going to have to rely on something else. I don't know what it's going to be just yet.
Yeah, that's a very good question. All right, let's move on. We have a lot more to get to here. I want to talk about the Iran deal, and there's talk, Larry, to hear the White House. Josh Earnest was asked yesterday, and I'm doing a Give Me 5 on this today. If an amendment is put on this Corker bill that says if Iran is guilty of perpetuating terror or committing terror against Americans, that's it, the deal is off. Would you veto that? Would the president veto that? He said, yes, I would veto that. So that goes along with them saying, yeah, we know Iran is a terrorist nation. Yeah, we know they're going to kill Americans. Yeah, we know they're going to destroy Israel. But we still want to work with them.
As far as I'm concerned, the recognition of Israel as a Jewish state should have been a precondition of these talks to begin with. Also, they've held a Marine hostage for 3.5 years. That should have been a condition of this deal. So as far as I'm concerned, this deal is simply a slow walk towards Iran getting a nuke if they already don't have one.
Right. Heather?
Well, and on top of that, cyber terrorism is such a big deal right now that people are just ignoring. You lift those sanctions, now they have the money to invest in going after our infrastructure. There's a lot more danger dangerous to us in the world today than just nuclear weapons. And to be so focused on that and not to the weapons of the future is a real mistake.
Yeah, and their rationale as well, they're such a dangerous nation that we have to make sure they don't get super dangerous and nuclear dangerous. I mean, it's incomprehensible. All right, we're coming back. We have a lot more to discuss with Heather Hansen and Larry Elder. It's Friday. I think we mentioned that once or twice, and it's coming up with part 2 back here on the Malzberg Show with the Malzberg panel. Do not touch that dial. Coming right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, back with Heather Hansen and Larry Elder on the Malzberg panel. Heather, there's a story out there, USA Today, talking about Army morale being at all-time lows, despite the fact that apparently almost $300 million has been spent over 6 years on this optimism program. I think it's a sorry state of affairs that you need an optimism program in the military. But, you know, I've never served. They're all better people than I am for serving. But I don't think I blame them for you know, having their hopes dashed in so many levels. Well,
there's a lot that's wrong with this situation. First of all, there's a blue ribbon panel of scientists that said that this optimism panel is not going to work, and yet we continue to pay $50 million towards it, rather than using that money perhaps for the VA to improve some situation for some soldiers who have come back.
Or to buy $1,000 toilets.
Right. Oh, yeah. Right. Exactly. Or, you know, there's a lot. Bo Bergdahl coming back and the way that whole situation was handled. I mean, there's a lot of reasons that you could see that members of our services would be disappointed and discouraged. But there's got to be a better way than wasting this money that we know doesn't work on a program that doesn't work.
Larry, watching the terrorists take over and retake, you know, the lands that were protected and the accomplishments that were gained by our military has to play into this. Also, the fact that generals and the hierarchy of the military have been fired summarily by President Obama over the last 6-7 years. I mean, the whole thing has got to be really, really demoralizing.
I would think so. I read a report about this today, and 2 things were omitted. I didn't see President Obama's name, the commander-in-chief. I didn't see any mention about the Iraq bug-out, which I understand really demoralized the military. After all those hard-earned gains in Iraq, he pulls out in December of 2011, and you saw what happened. That had to demoralize the troops.
There's a story which is unfortunately pretty consistent with what we've been seeing, but this is a different realm altogether. Italian police said that 15 African Muslim migrants were arrested after witnesses said the refugees threw 12 Christians overboard into the Mediterranean Sea off a boat, obviously, following a brawl. You know, this notion that it's, I guess, I don't know. I don't even know what to say anymore, Heather.
Well, I mean, we're going to have to come up with a different word for this as opposed to just what it is, which is a war on Christianity. You know, clearly that's what's happening here. It's something that we need to face so that we can fight it. If you don't name it, you can't fight it.
And Larry, let's take that and combine it with, again, ISIS destroying Christian grave sites in Mosul. Their goal, of course, is to destroy anything Christian, anything history or with any historic meaning. If it doesn't, you know, reek and spell Muslim. This is again, but the world is silent. Our president is silent, and unfortunately, and I'm Jewish, and I hate to say this, Christians are silent.
Yeah, I agree with Heather. This comes down to a war on Christians. And when you look at this, these people that were on this boat from Libya, they were all illegal aliens, and they started fighting, and the Muslims throw off the Christians off the boat. I mean, this is just abject hatred of a particular religion.
Yeah, and I would think and hope that they more than arrested. I hope they actually suffer consequences. And you talked about the Marine earlier, Larry, being held in Iran. And there's a story here that, and we had Mrs. Abedini, whose husband, the pastor, has been held for a couple of years now, over a couple of years, because he's a Christian in Iran. She said just the other day to us that he's being tortured. And now we understand that the Marine is a victim of torture and cruelty, according to the family. So how we could have any kind of talks with Iran, like you alluded to, Larry, without demanding the release of these people is just beyond me. Larry Elder and Heather Hansen, thank you both. Have great weekends, both of you. And I will try my best to do the same. All right, folks, we're going to have Gimme 5 coming up next. But first, we brought back our viewer call-in segment here on the Steve Malzberg Show. And if you want to participate, you have to do your part. And that means emailing us. Emailing us now, not when we start the segment. You got to do it in advance. You have to reach out to us so we could then contact you and we could connect right here on the show. So how do you do it? You email callsteve at newsmax.com. Call Steve at newsmax.com. You know, doing talk radio for like 30 years. It's a little different on TV, so we have to make these accommodations. Can't just say, oh, they're doing it, let me call in now. Do it in advance. Give us your name, your contact information, and one member of our huge, massive staff will get back to you because we want to hear from you. All right, Give Me 5 is next, so don't go away.